At what point does a pattern of small things stop being paranoia and start being undeniable proof that something is deeply wrong? I am still processing what happened. And I need you to understand something before I tell you. The truth is so much darker than whatever you are already imagining. A couple of months ago, I started noticing something between my boyfriend Ryan and my younger sister Liv. She was engaged to Daniel, a kind and generous man from a well-off family who had spent the past year happily planning the fairy tale wedding Liv had always dreamed of. Everything looked perfect on the surface, but something underneath it had started to rot. It began with small things. The kind of things that are easy to dismiss individually, but impossible to ignore when you line them up together. Liv would howl at Ryan's mediocre jokes when nobody else was even smiling. She would find reasons to touch his shoulder, let her hand linger on his forearm, brush against him when moving through a room. She would stand just slightly too close during family photos. I watched her reapply her lipstick right before he arrived for Sunday dinner one evening, something she never bothered doing for Daniel. I caught her watching him from across the room more times than I could count, adjusting her posture the moment he walked in. On the drive home from one of those family dinners, I brought it up with Ryan as casually as I could manage. Did you notice how Liv was acting tonight? He looked genuinely confused. When I described everything I had been observing, he shrugged it off. Do you hear how you sound right now? He squeezed my hand. Trust me. There's nothing going on. She's just being Liv. I let it go. I told myself I was being insecure, but I kept watching. 3 weeks before the wedding, we were at a backyard cookout at my parents' house. I stepped inside for a few minutes, and when I came back out, I spotted Ryan and Liv tucked into the corner of the yard by the old maple tree, standing way too close. She had one hand resting on his chest and was laughing at something he said. The moment they saw me walking toward them, they jumped apart. That night, I confronted Ryan directly. He told me I was paranoid. He told me I was seeing problems that didn't exist. He said he was just being nice to my sister and didn't know how to set limits without making things awkward at family events. Our argument went in circles for an hour. By the end of it, I somehow felt like the problem. The next day, I went to Liv. We met at a coffee shop near her apartment. When I brought up what I had been noticing, her face moved through surprise, then confusion, then anger, and for just a fraction of a second before she composed herself, I saw something else. Guilt. She denied everything, called me insecure, told me if I couldn't trust my own sister, that was my problem, not hers. She grabbed her bag and walked out, leaving me sitting alone with 2 half-finished coffees and a hollow feeling in my chest. When I told Ryan about the confrontation, he was appalled. Not at Liv, at me. You actually confronted her at a coffee shop? She's already stressed enough without you throwing accusations around right before her wedding. The following days were brutal. Liv stopped responding to me entirely. My parents called to say she was devastated and that I had overreacted. My dad sighed and said maybe it was just wedding nerves making everyone emotional. My role as bridesmaid was suddenly in question. Friends suggested I was subconsciously jealous because Ryan hadn't proposed yet, and I was watching my younger sister get married first. I doubted everything. I wondered if I had imagined it all. A week before the wedding, I went to my parents' house to try to make peace. I brought a handwritten card for Liv. I walked around to the garden and stopped completely still. Ryan and Liv were partially hidden behind a large decorative shrub. Her legs were wrapped around his waist. His hand was under her shirt. They were kissing so intensely they didn't even notice me standing there. The sound that came out of me didn't feel human. They jumped apart. Liv went pale. Ryan started with "It's not what it looks like," and I almost laughed out loud at the sheer cliche of it. How long? I demanded. How long has this been going on? The look they exchanged told me everything. This wasn't a single mistake. This had been happening for weeks while I was being made to feel unhinged for noticing exactly what was actually happening right in front of me. I couldn't listen to their explanations. I ran to my car and drove away while they shouted after me. I went home, packed a bag with shaking hands, and checked into a hotel across town. I texted Ryan that we were done, turned off my phone, and paid cash so he couldn't track my location. Alone in that hotel room, I fell apart completely. After a few days, I made one phone call. Daniel deserved to know the truth before he walked down that aisle. My heart was pounding when he answered. When I finished telling him everything, he was quiet for a long moment. I had my doubts too, he finally said. Little things that didn't add up. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I'm so sorry, I told him. He thanked me quietly and hung up. On the evening of the wedding, I was sitting alone in my hotel room when my cousin Jess called. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Sarah, you won't believe what just happened. The wedding is off. Daniel had let the ceremony proceed all the way to the vows. Then he stepped forward, looked out at the assembled guests, and announced calmly that he could not marry someone who had betrayed her own sister by sleeping with her boyfriend. He told everyone that this was the real reason I had disappeared. Not some petty family squabble as they had been led to believe, but because I had caught Liv and Ryan together at our parents' house. He had done some digging after my call. He had found text messages. He read several of the worst ones aloud to the wedding guests before walking out and leaving Liv standing at the altar in a heap of white lace and ruined mascara. The guests sat in stunned silence. My parents scrambled for answers. Liv collapsed completely. I felt numb listening to Jess describe it. The truth was finally out, but so was everything else. My relationship with Ryan is over. My relationship with Liv is shattered. My family is in pieces. I have moved into a small apartment across town, and I am rebuilding my life one quiet day at a time. I have refused to carry shame that was never mine to carry. My mother called yesterday. Her voice was small and broken. She asked if we could talk. I'm not ready yet, but I know one thing with absolute certainty. I was not paranoid. I was not insecure. I was not imagining things. I knew what I knew, and I held on to it even when every single person around me told me I was wrong. Trust your gut. You know what you know.